Well, hi, my name's Elaine Glover, and I organised the other month for this plaque as a memorial to the Kindertransport commemorating the Swanage railway station, and also remembering those who saved 10,000 mostly Jewish children from the Holocaust and from the Nazi regime. First of all, I'd like to remember Florence Nightingale. She's a bit of an unsung hero, to be honest, because very few people mention her in Kindertransport books. But she was the very first person to organise a Kindertransport in 1938. And they went to England from the 1st to the 2nd of December. And on that trip was Alfred Batzdorf from Breslau, also Gary Saul from Berlin, and my relative Irma Zanker was one of the child escorts. And I always remember this more than anything because of my own family ancestor who was on that very first Kindertransport. She was a special needs assistant, and after her second trip to England as Kindertransport, she was sent to Auschwitz, where she was murdered, gassed to death. And so I always have a heart for the very first Kindertransport, but also my heart also is Florence Nightingale, because she was always very keen to help children with needs and problems and difficulties. I think in is it New Zealand or Australia where she lived, she had a breakfast for young kids who had no breakfast. She was always that kind of a person. And then we have Trevor Chadwick, who was a Latin teacher at Forest School in Swanage, who worked with Sir Nicholas Winton, but it was Trevor Chadwick, also an unsung hero, because very few people knew what he'd done in Swanage until we found him in 2020, myself and Councillor Trite. And also we have to remember other people, like the Bournemouth Refugee Committee, who were very pivotal in Kindertransport because they arranged places for the Kindertransport to go. And also Roger Brown, known as Uncle Roger, very eccentric in his old life. When he was younger, he really helped the Kindertransport when the pipes broke at the Boy Scout hut, and the children were freezing, so they were sent first of all to some hotel. I can't remember now what it was, but then people like Roger Brown, all sorts of people had the children in their homes for a short time while they found a boys and a girls hostel. And also we're commemorating Swanage railway station because it's here that the children arrived from various places to come to Swanage, and I'd imagine that they would be very worried on the train as they came in. Very worried indeed, because they didn't know where they were going to, what was going to happen to them, and it was really difficult for them. And many people assume that, I'm going to turn it round now if I can. No, I can't. People find it very difficult, to be honest, because the problem is that these children had to say goodbye to their families, then say goodbye to their mum and dad and friends, and sent on a train, not knowing what was going to happen really, not knowing where they were going to go to. And then some people were violently sick on the boat, because some children got seasick, and so it was very difficult for them indeed. And as I say, you know, some children were used as maids or servants or farmhands. Some of them were treated very well. But the Kindertransport life was not this wonderful fairy story. It was a very emotional time, and I know that when the children got back to their parents, that they would have changed so much. I mean, if they were 8 and it was 4 or 5 years later, They were in their teens and the parents would have got older. They would have both gone through a lot of problems and difficulties, even their life. So it was very difficult, but I thank God for the Kindertransport. I do thank God for Florence Nankyvell, Trevor Chadwick, Nicholas Winton, Doreen Warriner, various rabbis, and Florence Nankyvell, and Irma Zanka. So many people. They were ordinary people, but they did extraordinary things so that these children could survive. And when we were talking to the second and third generation, if it hadn't been for these people who gave their life and could have died to save them, the second and third generation wouldn't be here, or the first. They would have been gassed. The first generation would have been gassed, murdered, starved, or whatever, and they'd have never been able to produce any more children. And so this really means a lot. And as I say, today I've met people and they've been very, very emotional about that plaque and what happened and the people that spoke. And so I wanted to do this video that, you know, I'm here, nobody else is here apart from my husband. But yes, thank God for the plaque. Thank God that the railway allowed us to put that there and help people to remember what happened and why these children were sent to places like Swanage, and remember those who gave their lives so that these children could live. Thank you so much. Bye.